Yo, what is going on, guys? Got an interesting video here today from a channel called Love Made Logical, and the video is titled 8 Charts That Will Change the Way That You See Dating. Now, a lot of guys recognize these days that dating isn't what it used to be. A lot of these statistics I think that we're going to see in this video will paint a picture that a lot of men have already really seen out there being written on the wall. So let's jump in. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and your comments.
This is a chart showing how men perceive women's attractiveness. Looks pretty normal. Men tend to perceive women's attractiveness on a standard bell curve. On the scale of 1 to 5, the average is 2.83, with the most common rating being 3. 8% are above the 4 and 17% below a 2. All pretty normal. And here is how women perceive men. Yeah, doesn't look so good for men. Taking this at face value, only 1 in 6 men are above average in an absolute sense. And if we translate this plot to something more familiar, like IQ, then we have a world where women think 58% of men are brain damaged.
And you see, this is exactly what you get, right? Imagine this chart and apply it now to how many options that modern women have when dating, okay? So let's take a look at this for a moment. This is the perceived attractiveness of men, right? So 1 to 5 on the bottom. Apparently, no men essentially are a 5. Women are barely rating any dudes a 4. Only 1/6 of men rate as a 3. Now, let's think about this for a second, guys. Have you ever watched a woman swipe on a dating application, for example? Who do you think she's chasing? Women are chasing the men who are down here, who are in this section here. Notice how they're pretty much non-existent, right? And this is why we wind up with stories from every single modern woman complaining that she can't find a man, or men don't want anything serious with her. Because these men are where all of the women are looking, okay? Pretty much all of them. And these men have no reason to commit to modern women. So, absolutely crazy, man. You know, I had a comment the other day that was like, well, what's wrong with women just pursuing men that they find attractive, right? Which, on its surface, sounds reasonable. The problem is, this is how attractive women view men. You see what I'm saying? It's not the same. If we have a look at the dudes, bell curve, you know, we find still a decent chunk of women to be a 4 to 5, at least for what it is. A lot of women to be a 3 to 4, you know, averaging 2.8 kind of thing. You see what I'm saying here? Men, we have a wider range of what we find attractive, right? Women have a stupid amount of options. Dudes do not, especially if you're not a good-looking guy, right? Let's continue.
Are brain damaged. When we dive a little deeper, though, it becomes clear this isn't a men are too ugly to date thing. It's a men are too ugly to hook up with thing. This is OkCupid, one of the biggest dating sites in the world. And this is Christian Rudder, the former CEO of the platform. In 2009, looking to promote the platform, Rudder and his team began to release data from the site, giving us an insight into what the dating market really looks like behind closed doors. In 2014, he released the book Dataclysm, summarizing much of the data revealed by the site. Within the book, Rudder displays the differences between how men and women view each other's attractiveness on the site. But when asked about it in an interview promoting the book and platform, this is what he had to say.
Tinder, those curves move even further apart. Match, they move closer together. The male curve barely moves. It's really the female curve that moves around. The men kind of have the same curve on all 3 sites, and it's the female curve that moves around.
When OkCupid was acquired by the Match Group in 2011, Rudder got access to the rest of the Match Group's biggest platforms' data. The 2 biggest of which at the time, Match.com and Tinder, give us a lot of insight into what's really going on here. Although charts or data were never posted, we can estimate based on what Rudder said. This is an estimate of how women perceive men on Match.com.
Yeah, so what's the bet? If you take it to something like Tinder, it's going to be a lot worse, okay? And this is how a lot of modern women are judging men these days, okay? Is they're judging them by their digital image, right? It's very, very important for if you're a dude and you're trying to hook up with a lot of women, maybe you're speed running, catching a disease or something like that. Who am I to judge? If you're going out there and you're trying to hook up with a lot of women, social media is absolutely the way to do it, right? Gone are the days, well, mostly where you approach a woman in public and you talk to her and things like this. And I mean, the risk is too high for this, right? It really is. A lot of people are just meeting online these days, and granted, social media applications, have completely ruined society, particularly things like Tinder and Bumble and Hinge and Match and whatever else there is. But women, they select the attractive dudes on these dating apps. They select the attractive men on Instagram and things like this. And if you're someone who's looking to be attractive, you want to have a good Instagram profile, for example. I don't make the rules. I think it's incredibly damn stupid. But, women love to judge a man based on, for example, his Instagram. So it is what it is. This chart's probably going to look a lot worse, I would assume, on Tinder. Let's see if I'm wrong.
And this is an estimate of how women perceive men on Tinder. We can see that for women, as the dating site becomes more casual in nature, the standards climb. Although people like to push the narrative that women are delusional and have too high standards, the data seems to say the relatively high standards are only for casual intimacy.
And this is exactly what I have been saying on the channel. When she is looking for a provider, right, someone to pay the bills, someone to, not have casual relationships with quickly, she doesn't mind if you don't look that great, right? You can be a dude who's maybe a little bit shorter, not as attractive anymore. As long as you pay the bills, guys, it is fine. But oh, no. When she's looking for bedroom fun, she's looking for those real attractive guys, right? Those men who she sleeps with on the first evening, the first night that she meets them, they just have to look attractive on a dating application, okay? But you, as a man, if you're someone who's not as attractive, you have to put in more work for the same woman. Riddle me that, guys, right? So the same woman that will go out there and hook up with a dude on some dating application, when she's looking for something serious, she puts less weight on how attractive you are and more weight on how good you pay the bills. I'm telling you, that's how it is, man. That is exactly how it is. It's a short-term and long-term mating strategy.
Which, when you consider the additional risks women take on with intimacy, the relatively high standards seem reasonable. Essentially, women are thinking, if I'm going to take the risk of a casual hookup, you better be attractive. The next question is then, what makes someone attractive? To answer this question, I'd like to bring forward a study from 2016, looking at what women look for in a speed dating context. The study started by giving women a list of 6 traits and asking them to assign points to each trait based on how important it was to them.
Yeah, see, this is absolutely hilarious. This is something that I've covered earlier on in this channel. But here's the thing, okay? And many men know this, particularly the older men, they understand this. If you talk to a woman and you ask her to list what she finds attractive or what she is looking for in a partner or a husband or whatever the hell you're asking her, she is going to give you the wrong information. That's just straight up the way it is, right? If you approach a woman and you ask her questions that can make her look bad depending on how she answers, typically they're going to answer in such a way that makes them look better. That's just the way it is, guys. Again, I don't make the rules, but that's just the way it is. So check this out. Let's continue.
The average distribution of points the women provided looked like this. All attributes given near even value.
So this is what women said that they wanted on the left-hand side. I want you guys to pay particular attention to the fact that intelligence, number one, is the biggest. Physical attractiveness to women apparently is not the biggest. I think a lot of women, actually, I don't know if this was an anonymous study or not. It probably would have been a lot worse if women's faces were attached to this particular study. But look how big sincerity is, right? It's a nice, decent chunk. Intelligence is the biggest, obviously, guys, because they look for men who are intelligent. Interesting.
After completing the dates, the women were asked to assign the points to the men at the dating event. Then, which men they were going to see again. This is a chart displaying the actual distribution of what was seen as important by the women at the event.
Wow, would you look at that? So, intelligence was not actually what women were looking for the most. Women say, I like a man who's humorous, who's witty, who's smart. Actually, Intelligence gets shrunk a significant amount, and what they're actually looking for here is physical attractiveness. And look at this. Here's the crazy part. Look how much sincerity shrinks. I want a man who's sincere, guys. I want a man with integrity, right? A man who says what he means and means what he says. Look how damn small sincerity actually is. Okay, and here's the thing, gentlemen, right? I have no problem. Many men don't actually have a problem if women's preferences look like this. What men have an issue with is the lying. Okay, if you say to a man, "Oh, don't worry, you'll find your sweet princess eventually. Just keep putting in the work. Just keep paying those bills." These are the men that they're chasing. Okay, I don't like men being fed the wrong information, right? If reality is grim, so be it. At least give me the correct information. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to men. Men don't like being lied to. We're not stupid, okay? And I think a lot of men, they're sold on this idea right here. Go out there, get a good career, get your ambition up. Physical attractiveness doesn't matter too much as long as you're sincere. I actually think, right, my personal understanding of this, guys, is I think the women are still lying. I think the chart looks a lot worse than this. I think that mutual interest is probably lower, and intelligence is probably also a bit lower as well. Same with fun. I just think physical attractiveness just dwarfs these ones because she won't even care about these things if you don't meet her physical attractiveness level.
Physical attractiveness was by far the most important attribute, with the amount of positive responses and level of physical attractiveness having an astonishingly large correlation coefficient of 0.801. For comparison, the correlation coefficient between IQ and academic performance is 0.54. Think about that for a second. For those wondering, online dating shows an even stronger correlation, with the data from OkCupid showing a 0.92 correlation coefficient between physical attractiveness and the perceived attractiveness of a profile. Confirming what a lot of men have recently begun to realize, physical attractiveness is just as important to women as it is for men. Women just don't admit it. Another thing I think most people aren't aware of is the effect of attractiveness is exponential. The 2011 study, What Makes People Click, Mate Preferences in Online Dating, looked at various traits to see what makes people attracted to each other. The study separated the 22,000 participants' facial attractiveness into deciles of attractiveness, with the top 10% getting separated into two groups, giving the top 5% their own group. To no one's surprise, the study found attractive people were significantly more likely to receive messages and match requests, but the distribution was eye-opening. We see a steady climb in matches and messages as participants get more attractive until we get to the top 5%. Miles above the rest, the top 5% of men dominate in online dating.
Yeah, and if you've ever sat down and you've watched a woman swipe on Tinder or any of these dating apps or whatever, you know that this is damn well true. Women will sit there, guys, and it will just be like, no, 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 no. Oh, his hair looks funny. No, no, no. And that's what they'll do, okay? Until they get to these dudes who are at the very, very top. Now, this is where we start to run into the issues, okay? Is if women's swiping habits are this, not every woman can lock down a man from here. That's the problem. Every woman basically wants a man from here, but not every woman can actually lock down one of these dudes who belongs in this percentile here. Okay, this is why we end up with so many TikTok videos of women complaining and saying the same thing. They're like, "Hi, my name's Becky, and I couldn't get commitment from this particular guy. He was so dishonest with me and all of this crap." Even if the man's super clear, right? Women just get pissed because they can't get the relationships from these men. And so then what these women say is they say, look, all men are the same because my friend over here, Susie also has the same issue, right? And so does my friend over here, Rebecca. But the thing that they don't understand is that they're all chasing the same group of men. Of course you have the same issue because you all select the same group of dudes. Absolute geniuses. Great stuff here. So at the bottom, obviously, guys, is the looks percentile, right? So as we go further to the right, these are the men who are more attractive, obviously.
Is more than twice as desirable as a 90th percentile man. Data released from OkCupid touts similar, if not even more telling results, showing...
Look at this, man. Look how crazy this is. right? So if you're in the very top percentile of dudes, this is what your matches look like. I mean, you just get all the matches. And the dating apps actually make this worse from what I understand, because they have a ranking system, an invisible ranking system, from what I understand, which is if you're someone who gets swiped on a lot, they actually put your profile more towards the front, so you're more likely to receive more of the matches. So not only is this a combination of women being unable to select dudes because they all choose the same ones, but because they choose the same ones, the dating app also compounds it.
Showing the exponential effects of physical attractiveness. Each percentile makes a bigger and bigger difference the closer you get to the top. I don't want the takeaway from this video to be that looks are the only thing that matter, because they're not. Another large contributor to a man's attractiveness is his social status. If we look again at the What Makes You Click study, we can see a large contributor to a man's perceived attractiveness is his occupation. Irregardless of a man's individual income, the industry he worked in had a large impact on if women attempted to match with him.
This is something else that I've said on the channel a lot, guys, is, you know, let's just say, for example, you're a dude who's like a plumber. And I know a lot of plumbers who make great money, right? Plumbing is an essential service. It's something that, you know, not a lot of people want to do. It's grimy work. It's difficult work oftentimes. But from what I understand, it pays decently well, especially if you have your own plumbing business. But it's not glamorous, right? And that's the problem for modern women. They want things that look glamorous. So this is something I've mentioned on the channel before, guys, where women oftentimes, you know, they're not attracted to some of these jobs, right? They think that they're above these jobs. I don't want to be married to a guy who's a plumber. Now, yes, there are some women who will like marry a plumber, for example, but I can certainly tell you that, for example, a lot of careers, it's just not common for women to want to marry them because they don't want the status associated with it. Right? I don't know, maybe you're an executive, like some sort of like higher ranking position at McDonald's, I don't know, but she still doesn't want to marry a dude who works at McDonald's.
The industry he worked in had a large impact on if women attempted to match with him. This is a chart showing the attractiveness of different industries men in the study worked in, and my fuzzy best estimates of the average salary in those industries. As you can see, there's a correlation between the average salary in the industry and the attractiveness of it, but it's
What a surprise. The more money a dude makes, the more likely it is that she's likely to select him. Something I really want to highlight here as well before we get into what these dots represent and what careers they represent. Again, just because you're a dude who makes more money doesn't mean that women are actually more attracted to you per se. Right? There are lots of men who are out there who are married to women who have great jobs and things like this, and they still have to ask their wife if they can go golfing for a day, right? They're like a millionaire, you know, he's an ex-lawyer or something like this, and he has to check in if it's okay with his wife. And she might give him bedroom action once every 2 weeks and things like this. Okay, so just because women are swiping more on dudes who have higher paying careers, I'm going to say this, guys, oftentimes men who provide more, they're kind of put into the provider box, right? They're put into the, oh, I'm going to use him for stability, but I'm not really that attracted to him kind of box. So let's jump in and let's see what these dots represent career-wise.
certainly not a one-to-one. Industries like computer engineering, science, government, politics, and financial accounting make a large amount of money, but don't give the men in them much of an attractiveness boost. Industries like firefighting, law enforcement, and military don't make a ton of money, but give the men in them large boosts in their attractiveness.
What a shocker, guys. I have seen so many TikTok videos and things like this of women complaining about dudes who work in law enforcement or who are in the military and things like this. And what a shocker. It's because they date them and they're typically more attractive to the women. Notice the correlation there, guys. Like the things that women complain about the most are the things that women are chasing the most. I've seen many videos of women, in particular military, of them complaining about military dudes. Hilarious.
And over here, less attractive than being unemployed are service, hospitality, and labor.
Yeah, would you look at that? Okay, so this chart actually goes into the negatives, so you can lose points of attractiveness depending on where you work. And would you look at that, guys? Labor jobs actually make you less attractive. Service and hospitality. Interestingly enough, service and hospitality jobs are considered more feminine jobs as well. So interesting how that works out as well.
And up here, in the corner, the highest paid and most attractive career option for men legal/attorney. Maybe your parents were right about considering law school. Something I've heard discussed a lot over the last few years is how men get better with age while women only get less desirable. And while the former is true, the latter isn't. This is a chart showing the age at which men and women are most desirable to each other at every age. The thing that sticks out the most is that men's preferences don't really change as they age, always being the most interested in women 20 to 22.
Yeah, I mean, that pretty much checks out, right? Dudes are not interested in dating older women. This is something I've said on the channel many times. I've actually brought up a similar chart to this. It was plotted differently, but it said exactly the same thing here, which is that no matter what age the dude is, he essentially prefers a woman who's in this age bracket. Women tend to prefer older dudes, and then it tapers down after they divorce their husbands and they start screwing around with the pool boy. Checks out.
I think we all knew that, though. Something I don't think most men realize is that the prime demographic they're interested in, 20 to 22-year-old women, are most interested in 21 to 25-year-old guys. That's your peak, guys. It's not your early 30s, and it's certainly not 38. It is worth noting that as a man, you'll receive the most attention from women in general between the ages of 25 to 30. This essentially means men have two primes. A first prime from the ages of 21 to 25, when prime women 20 to 23 are most attracted to you.
I actually think that this particular chart as well, something that it doesn't particularly tell here, is that if you're a man and you put in the work, you actually have more variables that you can control, right? For example, let's just say that you're a 37-year-old woman, right? And you're trying to settle down and have a relationship. I personally think that you're going to have a harder time than a man who is maybe 37 and who has worked on himself, right? If you're that woman and you've got delusional standards, that is. Obviously, women have more options than dudes pretty much at any age. But my point here is that if you're a dude who works hard and you put in the effort, maybe you've hit the gym for many years and you've got your finances up and things like this, you can still be, really attractive to women, and you can still get women, because women are not just interested, they are overwhelmingly interested in your looks, but they're also interested in your finances and how well you can provide and things like this. Men do not give a damn how well women provide. You can be a 37-year-old career woman. You can be whatever the chart previously said. You could be an attorney. You can work as a lawyer, representative, whatever the case may be. Dudes don't give a damn, right? So dudes have a bit more that they can control. I personally think that dudes should be putting in the work for themselves. They should be hitting the gym, making money and things like this, because, it'll improve your quality of life, not just so you can have some, damn single mother move into your house or anything like this, but doing it for yourself, right? Going out there and achieving things because you want to improve your life. I think dudes have a lot of things that they can control that make them attractive at older ages, especially more so than women.
This essentially means men have two primes. A first prime from the ages of 21 to 25, when prime women 20 to 23 are most attracted to you. And a second prime from ages 25 to 30, when you get the most attention from women overall. I think it's also worth pointing out that even women start wanting to date a little younger as they get older. Dating truly is a younger man's game, and despite men seeming to age better in women's eyes than women do in men's eyes, Father Time continues to stay undefeated.
I find this part of the chart funny as well. Let's just go back here for a second, right? As women get older, you'll see a dip here where they'll start to date younger dudes again and chase younger men. Notice how, this to me just says, all right, she's divorced now and she wants to return to the streets, right? So this is when we start feeling like divorcing. We divorce the dude maybe here, start dating some younger guys, and then it kind of tapers down. Very kind of interesting how that works, right? We got to resume dating the bad boys and the pool guys and things like this as we get older. But let's continue into the next chart here.
On Fiverr, you can find high-quality
another ad. I
freelancers
will
for a
write that in.
variety of services, including building an e-commerce website.
Now, there's one more thing in the What Makes You Click study I want to show you. When reading through the study, I found this. The researchers concluded that both men and women's height preferences depend on their own height. Basically, being shorter than a woman will on average make you be seen as significantly less attractive than a man of the same height as her.
Have you guys noticed that some of my videos have gone missing over here on YouTube? That is because I am slowly moving them over to locals where I can actually host them without the risk of getting in trouble. If you are not aware, many creators are starting to move over to places like locals, Rumble, etc. because YouTube is not really a free speech platform. So if you are interested in supporting the channel and getting access to videos that are no longer available here, make sure that you come and join us over on locals. The link will be in the video description down below. Supporters get access to their own exclusive videos that are no longer available to the public, so make sure you go to the link in the description and join us over there now. But anyway guys, back to today's episode.
And in a
What an absolute shocker here. If you're a man and you're less tall than the woman, she's obviously not nearly as attracted to you.
whole nother category than men taller than her. I don't think this is too surprising, but here's something I think will be. Yes, this is men's height preferences for women. Outside of being reversed, men prefer women shorter than themselves. Men's height preferences for women are nearly identical to women's height preferences for men.
Yeah, but here's my question about this, right? Is like, a dude's more likely to exclude a woman because she's too tall. I don't really think so. I think that women are far more likely to exclude a dude if he doesn't meet her criteria, namely, for example, her height criteria. If she has a height criteria, I think a woman's way more likely to exclude that than a man who, you know, oh, she's not short enough. I want a woman who's like a little bit shorter. No, I think women are far more likely to exclude dudes. Point in case as well, just the sheer amount of damn options that women have. They're going to, you know, discard men if they don't meet these things a lot of the time. You see, dudes we don't have stupid amounts of options typically. Even the famous guys don't have the same amount of options as some women on these dating apps, right? So dudes are not likely to throw away a woman because she's a little bit shorter or whatever. You know, he might find her less attractive if she's way taller than him or something like this. But I think it's far less likely that a man's going to throw out a woman because of this particular thing, you know?
Which makes sense when you think about it. Would you want to date a girl 5 inches taller than you? Women feel the same way about dating men shorter than them. Although men and women think similar in regards to height, one thing they don't think similar in regards to is divorce. A commonly thrown around statistic is that women initiate 69% of divorces. But here's another stat that makes it even crazier. If we look at the percentage of same-sex divorces that are male-male versus female-female, we see that female-female relationships are responsible for 78% of same-sex divorces. Female-female marriages are more common than male-male ones though, 55-45 split. So, we have to adjust for this. After we adjust for the differences in relationship commonality, the relative split of same-sex divorces are 69% women, 31% men.
I think we all knew this, okay? Women, regardless of the situation that they're in, are always way more likely to throw out their partner than men are. This is something that's fairly obvious too. If you're a dude and you've dated for any duration of time, maybe you're a dude who's married and things like this, I mean, women are way more likely to divorce, to throw out relationships, things like this. I mean, this is just the way it is, you know? Like this chart, I probably would have thought it would have been worse, to be honest with you. I probably would have thought that women were actually a lot worse compared to the dudes. But, you know, the guys who are gay, they divorce significantly less than the women who are. But, you know, could have told you that.
Despite men and women not even being involved in each other's relationships, the divorce percentages remain the same. Pretty unbelievable, right?
I'd say it's pretty believable. Women initiate the majority of divorces no matter where they are, right? You can't make them happy, guys. This is what I'm saying, man. It's like some women will just never be happy. They're always looking to upgrade. They're always looking for the next thing, right? Female hypergamy is a very, very real thing, where oftentimes they will try and replace their partner, and they have a significantly easier time than men do replacing their partners, which is why they do it so often.
Pretty unbelievable, right? The current common hypothesis is this is due to trait neuroticism, which measures one's sensitivity to negative emotions. If you take a random man and woman, the woman will be more sensitive to negative emotion, more neurotic, 62% of the time. This is why women are commonly seen as more emotional and volatile, both sub-characteristics of neuroticism. What this means for divorce, though, is that in 62% of relationships, the woman will feel the problems in the relationship more than the man will, which explains a large portion of this seemingly astonishing statistic.
Yeah, so basically she'll have more issues. She'll find things that are wrong with the relationship quicker than the man will. The man will just be chilling, and she will have reasons to end it. Absolutely classic. Guys, we are going to be leaving today's episode there. As always, excuse me, remember to leave your thoughts and your comments. Make sure that you come and join us over on Locals if you're interested in getting access to more videos that are no longer here on YouTube. A lot of my older videos, you guys have been asking, where have they been going? We've been putting them slowly over on Locals, just in case one day, you know, the channel gets taken down. I know YouTube doesn't really like content like this. Society doesn't really like content like this. So if you're interested in supporting the channel, you want to get more videos, make sure that you come and join us over there. And guys, make sure you take care of yourselves, and I'll be seeing you all in the next episode. Peace.